Hello, everyone. Welcome to the first episode of Not Necessarily, where we adopt a multidisciplinary approach to discussions on current affairs issues in Ghana and beyond. Today, I will touch on 5 basic things that I think everyone needs to know if you're seeking to understand the local governance structure in Ghana and how it's meant to operate. Now, I've dubbed the past 3 weeks in Ghana as the weeks of reshuffles. It began with the reshuffling of some 24 district chief executives in Ghana by the president of Ghana. This happened as far back as 2 weeks ago. This week, the biggest news in Ghana has been the reshuffling of ministers, including the Minister of Finance. Now, the beginning of all these reshuffles had begun with the reshuffling of district chief executives, some 24 of them, which were replaced by some 26 as well. The decision to begin the reshuffling on the district level has been due to a number of reasons. Some have said, for instance, that there have been strained relationships in the governing New Patriotic Party, all of which were brought to the fore at the recent parliamentary primaries. Others have also said that there's a need to reinvigorate local governance structure, and the DCEs were simply not performing, and so they had to be replaced. I will not be dwelling too much on the reasons why the president may have decided to reshuffle his DCEs. What I'm here to discuss and attempt to break down for you are the 5 most basic things for anyone to understand local governance in Ghana. The first thing to note about local governance in Ghana is that local governance in Ghana is regulated by a very specific law, which is the Local Governance Act of 2016. This act is essentially the legislative blueprint for our hopes as a nation on how we want our local governance to be structured and to operate. And evidently, this act has gone under a number of different names over the years, beginning from the 1980s, where we essentially sought to do a decentralized system of governance in Ghana. We are still attempting to succeed at that today under the most recent Local Governance Act of 2016. So the current substantive act that regulates local governance in Ghana is the Local Governance Act of 2016. The second thing to remember is that the local governance structure in Ghana is essentially a 3-tier hierarchy. So we have the metropolitan level, which is the highest. We have the municipal level, mid-level, and then we have the district level, which is the lowest level on the hierarchy. So each of these hierarchies have very specific jurisdictions and areas that it covers. The third important thing to remember is that district assemblies are the most basic administrative units responsible for local governance in rural areas and small towns. They oversee the implementation of government policies and development projects at the local level. Municipal assemblies govern urban areas that fall outside metropolitan regions. They are also responsible for handling things like urban planning, infrastructure development, and service delivery in their respective municipalities. Metropolitan assemblies, which are the biggest, handle the more complex urban centers such as Accra and Kumasi. They also deal with the more complex urban issues including infrastructure, transportation, sanitation, and economic development. The fourth takeaway is the fact that the Local Governance Act also establishes another entity known as the Local Government Service. Now, understand that over the years, the Local Government Service has undergone a number of changes. It's probably had different names. The substantive name under the substantive Local Governance Act is the Local Government Service. So this entity is supposed to be a body corporate with perpetual succession. It has the sole purpose of securing effective management and implementation of a decentralized local governance system in Ghana. So essentially, they are supposed to be facilitating the work of district assemblies, and they have a number of duties that they are supposed to fulfill, including facilitating trainings, helping to develop and coordinate management systems, providing technical assistance to district assemblies, and so on. Now, the local government service itself also has a governing council that consists of people from various backgrounds as stipulated by the Local Governance Act. And the backgrounds include representatives from the National House of Chiefs, Education Ministry, 2 women, apparently with considerable knowledge about local governance in Ghana. Fifth and final thing that I think you need to take away is the fact that the president needs the prior approval of at least 2/3 of the members of a district assembly that have the mandate to be able to attend meetings and vote before he can appoint a district chief executive. So it is not just because he has the power under the law to appoint or revoke appointment. In this particular instance, he also requires prior approval. So this approval before he does the appointment. And I believe that the president went through this process before he appointed the 26 also replacements of DCEs that were appointed to replace the 24 that were dismissed. So if you essentially want to take a DCE out as well, you would require a vote by, again, at least 2/3 of the members of the particular district assembly that can attend and vote at meetings. Also, of course, if a DCE decides to resign, that is another way of terminating the appointment. And in the unfortunate event of death by a DCE, naturally the appointment would be terminated. So here are the 5 things to remember about local governance structure in Ghana. The first is that local governance in Ghana is governed by a very specific legislation known as the Local Governance Act, which was passed in 2016. The second thing to remember is that local governance in Ghana is a 3-tier hierarchy: district, municipal, and metropolitan. The third thing to note is that each level of the 3-tier hierarchy has specific jurisdictions. The fourth thing to remember is that the Local Governance Act establishes a local government service, which essentially is supposed to facilitate the work of district assemblies. And the final thing to note is that the President of Ghana requires prior approval by 2/3 of the members of each district assembly in order to appoint a district chief executive.